on that side of the field here. Cincinnati, Jessie Bates, the last memory we have of him picking off Stafford in the Super Bowl in that early half there. JJ, your thoughts on him maybe sticking around in Cincy?
I don't think there's any question that he's going to be a Cincinnati Bengal in 2022. It's just a matter of if he's going to be under contract for that year and that year alone via the franchise tag, or if they can reach a long-term deal with Jessie Bates. You look at the Cincinnati Bengals roster, and they wouldn't tag C.J. Uzomah. They like him at tight end, but he's 2 years removed from that Achilles. It's probably a little too much for him. Larry Ogunjobi, if he had continued on the season that he had in that prove-it year without getting injured, maybe he could be the guy. The only guy that they would tag is Jessie Bates. But here lies the rub. You have Jessie Bates, who frankly played himself into a contract extension last offseason, and he was upset that he didn't get one. Remember, the Bengals paid his draft classmate Sam Hubbard, but didn't pay him, and he talked throughout the season about how that was in his mind, and that led to some poor play before he finally put it in the back seat and said, okay, let me go play my football. We see the tag right there at $13 million. The Cincinnati Bengals, if they are going to ultimately sign him to a long-term contract, really the floor is going to be Budda Baker's contract, the one that he signed with the Arizona Cardinals. That's the floor. And we can argue about whether Jessie Bates is a better safety. He certainly doesn't have the accolades just yet as Budda Baker, but that's the way that this stuff works. And so because Cincinnati historically has been a cheap franchise, and now they're going to have to spend money. They have $56 or so million in cap space. They're very likely going to be cutting Trey Waynes. That's going to open up another $10 million. So for the sake of round numbers, let's say that they're going to enter free agency with around $70 million in cap space. We know that they're going to allocate a lot of that to the offensive line and some free agents, but they're going to have to earmark $13-14 million for Jessie Bates for that tag. Can they come to an agreement on a long-term deal before that? To be determined. And frankly, I think that Jessie Bates, and I know that Jessie Bates thinks that he should be getting that long-term deal, but it seems like these two sides are destined for the tag, and they will continue to work out and hammer out a long-term deal as we get into July.
Yeah, I don't see Jessie Bates going anywhere from a second-round pick out of Wake Forest. You talked about the year he had this past season. Clearly wasn't the same production that we saw in 2020 when he did a phenomenal job, not just tackling, but picking opposing quarterbacks off. But what he means to their defense, he's the quarterback of the defense. He's the guy that communicates and gets everyone lined up. And I love the relationship that he has with fellow safety Von Bell, a guy who they acquired over a year or so ago from the New Orleans Saints. So you want to keep those things intact. This is a team that's clearly right there. They're in win now mode based on the success they had this past season, along with the players that are returning, especially at the quarterback position in Joe Burrow. So keep everything intact. Do not allow Jessie Bates to walk and take his talents to another organization. So they may have to tag him, but I do believe, based on the numbers that you mentioned, JJ, when it comes to the cap space of availability, they should be able to get something done. And that should be a necessity for Cincinnati, knowing that this is the guy you drafted. He's exceeded the expectations. He's done nothing but been productive. And most importantly, he means a lot. And he's a great locker room guy as well.
Of course, Bates there, as you mentioned, one of those key pieces, the reason why they're in the Super Bowl in that secondary, and of course others on the other side of the ball there.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.